Hey, what's up, y'all? Jumping into this one. This is not a business lecture. I know somebody's like, oh, Lord, here comes a long business lecture from Chris. No, that's not what it is. This is why I love sneakers. Timberlands are and are not sneakers. They are boots, obviously, but they are so ingrained into the culture of hip-hop as this kind of, I mean, even we wore them on the West Coast in the summertime, which is crazy when you think about it. But Timberland is a company, and I got to open up a couple of windows here and go in and find this post where a few years back, I had the opportunity, and I misspelled Timberland. I feel so bad. I wrote a post, and that post was, it was one of kind of, I was like, dude, and this is back in 2020, and I wrote this post, and I said that Timberland had basically co-opted hip-hop culture and piggybacked on the back of hip-hop for 20, 30 years without really giving back to the Black community, the Latino community. And when I wrote it from a position of frustration. And what it allowed, and this is one of those moments where, yeah, from the surface, it looked a particular way, especially when I was beginning to compare Merrell and Timberland and all of these different companies, and I was looking at all of this fantastic marketing coming out of Merrell that I didn't see from Timberland. So my frustration with Timberland was somewhat justified, but at the core of it all, was Timberland and VF Corp's inability to actually market. I guess that's the word I want to use. Actually market the different things that they were doing in the communities. So I said that for 30 years they basically just pimped hip hop, but the reality was they were doing small projects. But more important, and this is extremely important, and I want you guys to hear this, my attack on Timberland, which wasn't an attack, I'm using the wrong word, my frustration with Timberland was based on the fact that I didn't see a lot of Black faces in the C-suite or the management in Timberland overall. I didn't see any of us, BIPOC. I didn't see us, and that was frustrating because we know that Timberland, I don't think the company would have survived without hip-hop. I mean, I have to say that. Now I don't think that's the case. I think they have a lot of good things going on. So where am I going with this? In this version of why I love sneakers, why has everything I thought about Timberland changed? Well, the first thing is what I realized. There was a lot of work going on at Timberland where they were doing community service, and they have these pillars for community service, and they were supporting the Black community, the Latino community. And the reason I'm so excited about what Timberland's doing, and you can see kind of in my face, I'm smiling and I'm ready to kind of pounce this on you, is they did what was called a diversity in design program with Pensole. But this is what's interesting. Prior to, well, connecting with Pensole opened this door for Timberland to kind of really put their money where their mouth is. So a few years ago, they created an initiative to advance racial equity at Timberland and inside of VF Corporation overall. But to do that, they had to sit down and find real actionable projects that they could invest into. And they did that by connecting with Pensole. Now, one of the hires that happened was of the world sneaker champion, the first dude to ever win all of the stuff at Pensole, the amazing, and obviously I'm big on Chris Dixon, and you guys are probably like, damn, you bigging up this guy. I'm big on Chris Dixon because I know Chris Dixon from basketball. When I ran my basketball website and I was getting ready to create my second shoe company, Chris was hooping at Harding University, which is over in Arkansas. And he was a journeyman, basically. He had played junior college ball just like me. And he had moved on to this Division II. He was a fantastic basketball player. And the coach over at Harding was like, yo, Chris, I know you're doing your sneaker stuff. Man, I got this kid on the team. All he does is sketch shoes. And I was like, yo, tell him to reach out to me. The very first shoe I designed for Arch, I chose to give colorways to people who were inspirational. Now, it didn't get a lot of coverage. My sneaker company never showed up on any of these big websites, but Chris Dixon had the first shoe, and on that shoe, he had a CD logo. And that CD logo evolved over time and became something. And I'm sharing this picture with you because Chris is with Timberland now. And he got promoted. And I think it's Advanced Concepts and Energy. But he's with Timberland now. And this is a big deal because, remember, when I wrote this article where I was frustrated with Timberland, it was because of the lack of color. And then I was getting inboxes from people who had worked there, and they were saying all of this stuff. But then I started to dig into Timberland's location, of course, New Hampshire, and the location of most sneaker companies. And what I found was that if you did a breakdown of the area where Timberland's headquarters are, the percentage of whites in that area are probably at about 90 to 95%, and then it's Latinos, and then a very small group of maybe 1% black. So if you look at a company and you said if there's 100 people and you based it on the demographics of the city that it's in, Timberland should only have one black employee. When I began looking at the numbers, I was speaking with the PR team over there, and I started learning about how difficult it was to get people to apply to Timberland out of these different design schools. And to get people to move to an area that is primarily white, our perceptions limit the growth of who we can become. If we are not around other people, we don't get comfortable, and then people tend to hire who looks like them and who they've been around. Even when they do an open call for a job, people will hire, and more than likely it'll be a nepotism situation or favoritism, and people get jobs based on those things. I'm not saying that it is wrong, but we have to think about that when we start looking at companies and saying, hey, this company doesn't have black people. You have to be aware of the demographics of an area, and that factors into the job pool. Now, the beautiful thing about work from home, COVID was bad, but it was great in the fact that a lot of jobs now are opening up to people with remote work. And the great thing about that now is you can begin to hire an array of people. Like in the South, you have huge concentrations of African Americans, black folks. Those people can now work for Timberland. But what Timberland did, and I'm getting to it, I know y'all like, man, why are you so excited? I'm like, all right, so what Chris Dixon brought over to Timberland was the CD, the Constant Development Program. And what they've done
to these things that we were sharing with them, you know, the fundamentals of design, and then self-expression, them building self.
All right, so Timberland took a concept that Chris Dixon created called constant development, right? It allows Chris to go into elementary schools, middle schools, and I actually got to pack it myself, and my daughter used it, and it teaches kids the process of design, product development. It's an amazing program, and Timberland has placed these things into their business structure. Timberland, in the process of creating racial equity, is doing amazing work. So I'm doing this video on why I love sneakers, and really it's a celebration of VF Corp and Timberland. It's a celebration of Chris Dixon and constant development, and the fact that Timberland is pushing this program out there, and Chris is getting to go into elementaries and into communities and teach kids about design. And then you layer that on top of the fact that the diversity and design program that they did with Pensole has led to the hiring of 5 BIPOC people, and what you have is real diversity work being done. I can't explain to you how exciting that is for me to hear, and I don't think you can even hear what he's saying, but I think
almost 300 applicants. They selected these 5 right here to go on that 1-year apprenticeship.
This is like one of the first ever programs to go with 4.
So I'm going to put the link to this down in the description, but dig this. The diversity in design had 300 applicants, and they chose a group of students, and then those students got the opportunity to work not only at Timberland, but at Vans and the North Face. But the great thing about this year-long journey for these people out of the diversity and design program is that Chris Dixon is not just like the only black guy that's out there right now. They've hired 5 of those people from that program. 5, yeah, that's 10, but 5. I love sneakers. I love design. I love product development. I've owned sneaker companies. I created my site as a consulting tool to reach out to brands and work with brands. I write articles that are challenging. If you go to a typical sneaker website, you're simply going to get a lot of release dates and information about hype stuff. When you go to my website, the whole intent was to create change. I wrote Timberland, and I wrote this post, and you'll see 2021 was the time of this class. When I wrote this post in July 2020, they had a few programs in place for their community service, but soon after, they connected with Pensole to create the diversity and design program. That diversity and design program moved on to these guys that just got hired, guys and girls. And I know we're supposed to be gender correct now, but I'm just saying that because that's the first thing that comes to my mind, and hopefully people won't kill me for it. To see that Timberland hired these students from this program, to know that they have Chris Dixon, how Chris Dixon stayed out of design for some major brand for as long as he did, I don't understand, because the dude is one of easily the dopest designer in the industry. I'll argue that with anybody. And the fact that he ends up at Timberland, and all of these changes kind of follow from a class for kids that provides an opportunity to learn design and product development, and then the diversity in design ending with 5 people being hired. If you think sneaker culture is dead, if you think it's dead, it's because you're spending far too much time on websites that only talk about 1 or 2 different things. I'm doing this series because I love to see when change happens. And watching VF Corp and Timberland change in real time, there's nothing like that. And it's great to see it. Kudos to Timberland. Kudos to Chris Dixon for developing constant development. Kudos to Pensole and the diversity and design program. When you have opportunities to change the world, you change the world. And even if it's small and people don't know, do the work anyway. That's it, man. That's why I love sneakers. See you guys on the next one. Peace.